everybody. Okay, will the presentation work? Okay. So I will show you why Hyperliquid either goes fully compliant or goes to zero in value. I am Simek. I am a lawyer focusing on crypto, and I'm also one of you, a full degen. So what is the current state of DeFi? Sometimes it's fun, sometimes it isn't. Sometimes the projects are operated legally, but mostly they aren't. And please, this picture is just illustrative. I'm not saying that any of these projects are engaging in illicit activity. Nevertheless, the current state of DeFi is that most of what we call DeFi today somehow operates outside of the regulatory frameworks that applies to it. So therefore, many of the DeFi projects have some similarities or similar features with shadow banks, shadow funds, unregistered investment firms, unlicensed service providers. The projects usually know it, the investors know it too, but it has been somehow normalized. Many of the projects also shield themselves behind the concept of decentralization, meaning that there is no person responsible for anything, so no regulations apply on us. Nevertheless, the regulators are starting to challenge this view, saying that they actually released a report, the EU regulators saying that many of the DeFi projects are not really decentralized, meaning there is no reason for them to be outside of the regulation. Let's have two case studies. One of them is Hyperliquid. It's a project everybody in crypto loves now, mainly the people who have received a nice airdrop from them. And it's this project is a huge success. It's one of the top venues for trading crypto derivatives. It has billions in daily volumes. And how does Hyperliquid operate? Well, there's a Hyperliquid Foundation based in Cayman Islands, and they run the interface for trading. There is a small team that ships and implements all the upgrades. I'm not aware of any license that Hyperliquid holds, and it mostly doesn't comply with any of the regulation that normal trading venues need to comply with. They also claim that they are decentralized, but the level of decentralization is questionable based, for example, the jelly incident from the last year. And what is the regulatory reality? Where the other venues that would engage with similar activities as Hyperliquid, they would need to hold a license. And even if Hyperliquid claimed successfully that it's fully decentralized, it wouldn't matter at all because in this regulatory framework there is no exception for decentralized platforms to comply with these regulations. So Hyperliquid just needs a license. And the trading venues that allow users to trade crypto derivatives, they need to really comply with hard obligations like reporting, customer segmentation, and caps for leverages, AML regulations, data compliance, and operation resilience. And since Hyperliquid didn't geo-block the EU users, they should really comply with those regulations. Let's say the other case study. Let's see the other case study on the finance. They took a completely different approach. On the finance offers tokenized real-world assets, mainly the US Treasuries and stocks on-chain. They have received regulations from both the EU and the US regulators. If you want to interact with their platforms, you need to pass a KYC and pretty strict AML checks. And they have also partnered with the big players in the traditional finance, like BlackRock. So they took the strategy that they built on blockchain, but they really play by the rules of the traditional finance. Even on the project itself says that they are building the TradFi blockchain. Now, let me take you back in time a little bit. What's happening now in DeFi? There is this structural regulatory gap. It has already happened several times throughout the history. For example, in the 19th century, there was this so-called wildcat era. It was the 30-year gap when in the US, the banking laws were very lenient, which resulted in everybody basically setting up a bank and issuing their own paper notes, and this one, it was a terrible consequence that like basically everybody lost money and the majority of the banks went bankrupt. So it was resolved by regulation, and what I'm saying is that there are many times happens that there is this regulation gap, but it always closes. And with DeFi, it's going to be pretty much the same. Most likely, the gap will likely close in time, and everybody building in DeFi should prepare for that. For example, let's talk about the ICOs of security tokens. It was a huge topic 5 years ago and even before. If you can issue to public security tokens, it has been now basically settled in the European Union, and the big question now is what about DeFi? Is it legal? How should it be regulated? Is it just unregulated vehicle? And in 5 years, it will most likely also be settled. Currently, the view, at least of the EU regulators, is that the project needs to be fully and truly decentralized to be exempted out of the regulation. If we keep this in mind, then what is the future of DeFi? There are most likely two futures that will exist simultaneously. The first one is basically TradFi on blockchain. So when we enter the DeFi space, there will be many projects like Ondo that will be licensed. They will offer regulated products. You will have to pass the KYC checks if you want to interact with them. There will probably also be some kind of measures against hacks and frauds, meaning, for example, that you will be only able to sell the assets to another KYC wallet. The European Union already started to squeeze this bridge between regulated and unregulated, for example, by making it harder for the crypto asset service providers to interact with self-hosted non-KYC wallets. And yeah, future with this path is that there will be this walled garden where everybody can enter the DeFi space, and it will be safe. It will be probably much more boring than the today space, but hopefully it will be also fun. And then the other track, the second path that will also exist, is real DeFi. I call it real DeFi because it will most likely differ from what DeFi is now. Now, usually the DeFi projects are something between the first track and the second track because they are not fully decentralized. They just don't hold the licenses, and they are hiding behind the decentralization. And the real DeFi projects, they will have to be truly decentralized. There will be no team that will be able to extract the value from the projects, that will control it, that will decide about what will happen to the project. The token issuance will have to be widely distributed. The front ends will most likely be distributed. And yeah, so it just needs to be truly decentralized in order to pass the test of full decentralization. And the topic of this the thought of this talk is for the builders to encourage them to start thinking what ways they want to go, because this middle way will likely not be a solution in the next few years. So if you want to go the regulated way, you should start preparing for that. You should be prepared that once you will have to obtain a license to operate legally. You have to comply with a lot of obligations, as KYC, and just this is probably the path where the money will be. And then there is the permissionless path. And if you want to build in that, you have to be prepared that it's going to be more like building a public good, because it will be very hard to extract some value for you as a founder of the protocol. And you should start thinking from the very beginning about how you want to structure the next steps, because from the very beginning it would be very useful if you start with the decentralization. So the token should be very widely spread to fall to this decentralized exceptions. Otherwise, we will keep building against something in the middle, and it will just not work. that's all from my side, and I'm open to any questions.